Hey, how's it going, guys? Cinestalker here for a new video. This video is a different kind of video. I want to pay a remembrance to a horrible tragedy that happened here in San Diego over 43 years ago today, September 25th, 1978. Right across the street, which I'm going to take you guys to. You can see in the distance, back around 9 o'clock in the morning, it was on a weekday, a Boeing 727 from PSA was making its way to land in San Diego, but it collided with a small Cessna plane, and everything crashed right over here at the intersection of Dwight and Niles Street here in San Diego. At the time, making it the worst airplane disaster in the country, and it's still one of the top ones, and definitely still the worst one here in California. 144 people died in the plane crash. I think 7 people on the ground died also. And it happened on a weekday, so it could have been a lot worse if it was on people on the ground, because it was on a weekend. You can imagine kids here and people at home. But it was on a weekday, and it hit some houses, and it was a horrible disaster. And I'll show some pictures in here, sprinkle them out of what it looked like of that day. And I live like a mile and a half from it now, and about a half a mile or less, I had some relatives from the 70s, like my great-great-grandparents, my great-grandparents lived over there up the street about a half a mile from here. So when my grandpa got word of it, they came over here. It was all blocked off, but they had to make sure they were fine, because there was like all kinds of wreckage spread throughout the area here. Horrible thing that happened, absolutely horrible. I've only been here once before, and this is I figured I wanted to document this, pray remembrance on this horrible thing that happened, but it's something to put out there and remember here in San Diego. And at the corner of Dwight and Nile, and up here, I'm gonna go across the street right now, there's they do a memorial here every year on this date, on September 25th, 43rd anniversary of this. And there's like the street's a little bit uneven. That's where the impact zone of the plane, the Boeing 727, when it crashed. But this is my first time coming here on an actual anniversary day as today, and see all the names on the ground here, all with the people that perished in that terrible tragedy with the Cessna, with the plane colliding with the Cessna. And here's some newspaper copy clippings of that day back when, hey, 144 people lost, but not forgotten. That's the date as I'm filming this right now. 9 o'clock in the morning, right now it's noon, so a few hours ago they did like a commemorative, I believe, like flowers and ceremony here. But I definitely want to pay my respects and kind of share this with you guys, and kind of document it, share it, and that kind of stuff too. For you guys out there that never heard of this story. But yeah, terrible thing though. Look at this, like, so it was a hot day out. Like, it's usually pretty hot in San Diego around this time of year. Today it's kind of cool out, a little windy, but that day was really, really hot. So it was like this with the fires going on. A bunch of houses up here were lost too, because the plane fell down right up here, not too far from the freeway. Which is the freeway is like 2 blocks down is the freeway, 805 freeway. So horrible thing, absolutely insane what happened. And I said I had some like relatives in this area, like about 3 or 4, maybe like 4 blocks down or so, less than half mile away from here. So my grandpa, they came over here in the car to check up on him. Other uncle was in high school at the time. I think my mom graduated high school around that time, and this was whole thing was just nuts. What happens? I want to make sure they were okay too, having relatives in this area. And that's crazy. I lived in this area now also, from this area, and it's kind of nuts. I'm like, a family always had roots in this spot of North Park, South Park area. But here's the names all up and down here, all 144 names. I think they're supposed to do an actual memorial plaque here. I know it's in talks of they're doing something like that, but I don't know when it'll happen. You see some Starbucks. It's like from people doing the ceremony earlier. But yeah, it's crazy. And this, so it was just like the real bad thing too was, remember my uncle was here. They found, like, not to get graphic, but they found a bunch of limbs and body parts on rooftops scattered around about this area. There's a nearby, I think, elementary school about 2 blocks away. So that was a makeshift morgue for a while for the bodies and the victims of this tragedy. And it being hot out, there were certain, not to be, it started to smell, and because different fuels and smells of what was going on and burning. You know, this was a horrible thing. And so that's my grandpa and them told me it was like this horrible like odor in the air, and there's all this stuff going on because they're in this area. They had everything blocked off, but they were down the street from what he told me, to make sure my family and stuff, like other parts of my relatives, were okay. But yeah, just an insane thing that happened here. I'm just kind of showing some of this, some of the plants. Here's some pictures. That looks young. And here's what happened, like the collision course, loop of death. Cessna takes off from Montgomery Field, which is not too far, a little about 15 minutes north of here. The Cessna was, I guess, practicing lanes. I don't know exact details of it. And then it was making its way toward this way, cutting through Balboa Park. Because there's an airport up here in San Diego. The main airport is not too far from here. And planes kind of get low to land, but the Cessna was going this bad direction, and it collided with the 727 on the wing, which I knew about that. And that's what caused it to crash. And there's the fuselage. But yeah, this is like, so everything is like right around this area. So it's still crazy. This happened in a busy neighborhood, because the neighborhood back when looked just like this. It's a busy suburban community, and crazy to have this airplane crash happening in like a big neighborhood like this. Is rare, you know. Most of the time it's like it could be overseas and other places or a field maybe, but in a popular area, that's what makes this very tragic and unique situation of how this all, like, you know, what this happened. What is this? This is from Nellie Marie Jackson. Thank you for honoring and remembering the lives of all that were lost. I love you and miss you every day, Mom, until we meet again. So that must have been her kid. I assume that's the mom. That's so sad. So sad. They're about to go home, about to land their plane. Like, the airport's literally, it would have been so, like, probably 2 minutes they would have landed, in this horrible thing. Unbelievable. And a lot of relatives here, locals. Man, unbelievable. See, I've never seen it like this with the memorial. Look at that. Just an insane situation. Just you see the clippings, the old newspaper clippings from the day after, 26th. You know, and like, there was no internet back when, of course, so you had to watch the news, wait for the newspaper the next day, or on the radio. There was no instantaneous, like nowadays you can just find out information on the fly. Back when, of course, you had to wait for news on the TV or newspapers or radio to get information. So I can imagine all the hysteria of kind of not really knowing what's going on. No instantaneous notifications of what was going on back when. You had to kind of wait for it and see, and kind of see how it all unfolds with the news, with the reports. So I can imagine all that on top of everything else. Horrible thing of what happened. Absolutely insane. Crash sites haunted by morbid seekers of grisly souvenirs. What is this? Because I know that people are probably trying not to be weird and stuff, but I'm sure people like were taking weird artifacts. Maybe even like, it was because from what I was told, there was a lot of like body parts, like I said earlier, on rooftops, in trees, in backyards, spread all throughout this area. A lot of body parts. And so I can imagine, like I said, weird people maybe trying to take watches and rings from those severed limbs, I assume. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but I'm sure people probably were. And so there was a morgue in this area too, or a couple of morgues set up here, makeshift morgues for the body parts and bodies that they were finding. So I think only 9 people on the ground died, or 7, but everyone in the planes died. It was just, of course, absolutely insane. A lot of people have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder from this tragedy, which I can imagine seeing this happen in a neighborhood, body parts spread everywhere, horrible chaos, burned up victims, wreckage beyond belief. This whole area was just nothing but burn, like the crash right here. Just I can just imagine the absolute insanity of what was going on back 43 years ago today. So I remember my grandpa and them, my uncle, they came back here. They said it was absolutely chaotic. The scene, not knowing what's really going on, not knowing if your family's okay. If you have family over, you can't go in really. So you kind of like hop over fences and alleys to kind of make sure they were fine. That's what they did to make sure my relatives were fine. That was right there. I was explaining earlier that they're finding body parts a block or more, a few blocks away from here, like pieces of human flesh. From the wreckage, it was a hot day out, a hot week out, so the smells of that, and that's, it's a good, of that burnt flesh on top of rooftops, with the sun baking on it, and amongst everything else, like I can only, it's just, the whole thing was a grisly sight to see, but I said it right there, but just a horrible thing. And this was like right in this vicinity, right by the street. This, I don't know if it's a fuselage, that's the nose of the plane, something like that, but just really horrible. Just gonna come here, pay homage to it, remembrance of it, document it, share it. Some interesting stuff here that maybe you guys never heard about before in town, in San Diego, and just kind of share a interesting, horrible tragedy to it, and not to forget the victims of this horrible accident. That's, it was just a horrible accident. And glad it never happened again to this level here, at least, and this is just absolutely crazy, but beautiful to see the flowers out here and the names written on the ground, paying remembrance to everyone that died in that horrible tragedy. That pretty much does it for this video. Just kind of said a different kind of video, but just wanted to share this and document it, especially on the day, the anniversary of it, 43 years ago. Horrible tragedy that happened in that area. So just kind of show it, and and share share with you guys in case you guys never heard of this tragedy, of this horrible airplane disaster, one of the worst ones in American history. Just want to share that with you guys in case you never heard of it, and you can research it up too. There's like stuff of it online also in case you want to see more of it. And so there's a lot of footage of this, they were filming it, so there's a lot of footage of it. You can see the pictures and actual footage of the plane making its horrible final descent down. Is even on Faces of Death. I believe the first one they were showing footage of this too. On there, some of the uncut news footage of it they were showing on the original Faces of Death from way back when, 40 years ago, or so, maybe 41 years ago, 1980, I think Faces of Death came out. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video for what it was. I want to give you some historical documentation of this. So if you guys enjoyed that, if you guys want to see more videos like this and others, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you're in San Diego, if you heard of this horrible tragedy before, let me know. I'm curious. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I will appreciate it. I'll catch you guys later in the next video. My thoughts and prayers out to the family out there, never forgotten, and I'll see you later.